Alright, and they're going. So, I know a lot of you returning viewers will have heard this over a million times by now, but for any new kind of viewers or anybody that's new to Celeste, basically what we have here is, well, obviously we can see our runners here are jumping and wall climbing, but the main kind of movement in this game, as we'll see, is the dash, which can take many forms. As we'll see, there is a dash cancel, which is kind of a combination of a dash and a jump, which can give you extra momentum and height. A hyper dash, which gives more distance but less height than a dash cancel. A wall bounce, which allows you to bounce off of walls, and then there's other things like an ultra dash, which we'll be seeing a lot less of, and then different kind of dash forms kind of created with the many different mechanics we see in the game. So here we see Cookiepocalypse taking a bit of a lead here. As we see, he's kind of flying through this bit. And what we see here in Chapter 1, the first mechanics we get introduced to are these zipper blocks, which move on a certain track, and they get initiated by contact. So if you touch them, they'll move on their specified track. But we have a lot of different ways to kind of skip them, because we can save time with them. And here we see Cookiepocalypse using probably one of the biggest strats in Chapter 1, which is the neutral jump strat, as we see 4iSteven and Zic3 probably the two coming up as well. So Chapter 1 overall it's a very it's kind of very streamlined now. It's kind of been very optimized at this point, so the times won't differ too much, but as we get later into the run, we'll see our runners kind of separating time-wise. And now we have Cookiepocalypse moving into Chapter 2, which introduces the dream blocks, which kind of allow you to dash into them, and they'll give you they'll move you along the kind of area that the dream block spans. They're personally my favorite mechanic, and they're really flowy. And then we see him also going into the battle and fight. And if you ever played Super Mario Galaxy, there are a lot like the Shadow Mario fights, where basically battling in this case just mimics all your movements, so you kind of have to move to kind of avoid her. But we've kind of memorized all our pathways through these rooms to the point where it's basically just easy work for us at this point. And we see Cookiepocalypse a bit ahead, but we see Steven, Sylverfyst, and Zic all in pretty much the same spot, maybe a fewer seconds give or take between each. And Cookiepocalypse now is out of the battling section and is into basically a section where he can't die anymore. There's no more enemies, no more spikes. And we see him in the awake section now. And oh my goodness, for a second it looked like 4iSteven and Sylverfyst were on. They were in the same exact room with maybe 1 or 2 frames in between each other. That's something to rewatch in the VOD for sure, if any of you guys want to do that after this run is over. And Cookiepocalypse now a bit ahead of the rest of them, now finishing Chapter 2, and he's heading into Chapter 3, which introduces the Dust Bunnies, which are basically cycle-based, which, as many people say, make this chapter the worst, because it makes it very difficult having to deal with not only the normal cycles you see, but they also have death cycles, which can kind of make things a lot more frustrating, and kind of grinding this level individually can really consume a lot of your time. And we see consistently our three Cookiepocalypse is a bit ahead, but our other three runners are all basically at the same exact spot. This is fairly interesting to watch. So I guess we'll see how it plays out between all of them at kind of later in the run, if they continue to stay this locked with each other. As they're all in the awake section right now. And this is impressively close, with maybe Steven and Sylverfyst finishing with like a second in between, and then Zic finishing like 2 or 3 after. And now Cookie is in the huge mess area, which requires, well, to get through you need to hit 3 kind of buttons locked in different sections of this area to kind of clear out our hotel, or the hotel of our good buddy Oshiro. Well, good buddy until we have a little fallout a little bit later, but that's for when the time comes. And a trick we'll see from Cookie is the he uses a little spike jump. Basically what you can do in this game is like the hitboxes on spikes are fairly lenient. So if you're moving away from spikes and you kind of jump off it at the same frame, I think there's like maybe a tiny gap like on between the spike and the corner of the wall, which you can end up getting a jump on. But if you're moving away from it and you jump at the same time, you can get a boost off the spikes pretty much, which can allow you to skip the entire room we saw Cookie in a while ago. And now we see him hitting the second button, nearly done with the huge mess bit, making quick work of all of it, as our other runners are still consistently pretty much in the same room, although they're starting to get separated a little bit now, as we see their Zic has now kind of gotten a bit ahead of the rest, but we can still see, at least RTA wise, it looks like Silver's timer may be a few seconds behind Steven's, but they're still very close nonetheless. And Cookiepocalypse now, he's done with the huge mess portion. Again, he's pretty far ahead of the rest of our runners, but with his time, that's kind of to be expected. And now we see him going into the elevator shaft portion, which, I mean, there's not too much to it. It's just kind of stuff we've already seen in previous rooms. And we see all our other runners. They're now heading into the huge mess section, where they have to kind of deal with, well, the huge mess, obviously. And yet again, we see Silver and Steven in the same room. Again, their timers aren't perfectly synced up, but they are very, very close RTA-wise. As Zic seems to be pulling away a little bit from the rest of them, although taking a bit of an unfortunate death in that room. And I nearly forgot, Cookie now has gotten into the Oshiro fight. As I said earlier, we had a bit of a fallout with our good buddy Oshiro, and now he's trying to kill us because Battlein came in and said that his hotel was a dump, and we happen to look like Battlein, so now he's kind of angry. And what we can see is basically what Oshiro does as a boss is he locks onto your Y position after a certain amount of time, and does like a horizontal dash across the entire screen on that certain locked Y position. So all you have to really do is just try and kind of change your vertical position enough so you don't get hit by him. And we see Cookiepocalypse finishing easily there with, I may be mistaken, but a 5 4.03. I'm not 100% sure. I may be reading that wrong. But again, he's still pretty far ahead of the rest of them. As we see, Zic now is starting to break a little bit from the rest of them as well. Maybe, I'd say maybe like 5 to 10 seconds ahead of Steven, who is behind him and also synced timer-wise. And Cookie now is in Golden Ridge, which introduces even more mechanics. As we can see, he's in a windy room. Mechanic I don't think anybody likes, but it's still there. And then we saw him with those blue bubbles, which basically act as an extra dash, because they don't really, like, they're not really an extra dash, but they serve the same purpose. Like, they travel the same distance, and they can move in any of the 8 directions you can dash in this game. And then there are also these clouds, which you can they act as trampolines. And then the moving blocks, which, I mean, they move, but one trick you can use with them is if you ride against them, as we will see Cookie use in this next room, you can get like extra momentum off them, and they can propel you. Like, as we'll see, he used the momentum from that block to propel him across that giant chasm. And now we see Silver and Steven both trying to get this this quick cycle in this room, which requires 4 chained hypers, which can be pretty difficult. It's a fairly precise strat. And neither of them got it first try, but it looks like they were able to clean it up after a little bit. And it looks as Silver is now pulled ahead of Steven, even with the unsyncment of his timers. It looks like RTA he's pulled ahead by quite a bit. And we see Zic now, he's really brought himself ahead of the other 2 racers. And Cookie now is almost at the last checkpoint of Golden Ridge on the last room. And what we may see from him here is no, he doesn't really get it, but there's a quick cycle you can get, which saves maybe 2 or 3 seconds, give or take, how you actually execute that skip. And we see Zic finishing with a 640 in Celestial Resort, as Sylverfyst is now in the final long room, which is either the longest or second longest room of the entire game. I think it's rivaled by the last room of 2,500 meters in Summit. I'm not really sure which one, but nevertheless, it certainly is a room you don't want to die on, because you could waste a lot of time there. And now Cookie on the very last room of Golden Ridge, as he finishes with, I believe, 321. Again, I don't know. I mean, I don't have the best quality or the best resolution on this computer, so I can't really see, but a good time nevertheless. Not sure it's the best time for him or not, but it looks like he's in a good position for this race at least. And now we see our other 3 runners now all in similar places yet again. The gaps between them are starting to grow a bit, as we see Zic is a bit ahead, and then Silver has gotten himself a bit of a lead over Steven, but that lead could easily be changed, because there's not much difference between these 2, at least in-game time-wise. As we see Silver taking a death there on that little trick where you jump between those 2 spike walls, or the spike floor and the spike wall. It's a fairly precise jump, which it's not too much of a time waster, but it can rack up your death count if you have a bit of fails. And I forgot to mention this, but Cookie now in Chapter 5 introduces even more mechanics, as we see there are these red bubbles, which act as the blue bubbles we saw previously in Chapter 4, except what they do this time is they move like forever until you either dash out of them or hit a wall. And we see him dying on that one really long room there, which is certainly costly, certainly a death he doesn't want to get. And also some other mechanics we have these Seekers, which we will see Cookie's actually controlling now. It's kind of a tutorial in the game, so you can learn how these enemies work, since you will in fact be encountering them later in the level. And basically they kind of act as Madeline, except they kind of float around, but they can dash. And then also we have these moving blocks, which are somewhat like the zipper blocks we had in Chapter 1, but instead of being initiated by contact, they're initiated by you dashing, whether it be literally anywhere in that room. And we can see Cookie now, he is in the room with the Seekers. And a cool thing you can do with them, a strat that a lot of us speedrunners use, is we can manipulate the movement of the Seekers so they can hit some of these coin buttons to unlock the doors, which can save a fair bit of time over the course of the unraveling section. And he's even using the blast from those Seekers after they kind of respawn, since after you jump on their heads, they kind of go into this... I don't know how to describe it well, but they kind of... their movement is paused for a bit, but then when they respawn, I guess, they kind of have a big explosion. And what we may or may not see from him, depending on how he plays through the rest of the level, he might use the blast from the Seekers to get himself a lot of momentum. I know there's one place in the escape bit, which I unintentionally use it sometimes for, but I guess we'll see from him. And now we can see Zic. He's about to finish up Chapter 4. We can see he's really kind of breaking off from our other two runners there, who are also near him, near kind of the beginning of the run. And I forgot it again, but now we have Cookie into the final section of Chapter 5, where our good old friend Theo, as you'll know probably from the multitude of skipped cutscenes he was in earlier, basically he got trapped in a crystal. We have to kind of rescue him from the Mirror Temple, and basically what he does is basically your movement is inhibited when you hold him. You can't dash while holding him, and you can't wall climb while holding him either. But every time you like grab him, or like you throw him and dash him and grab him, your momentum is kind of propelled a little bit, so that can kind of make for a bit of interesting tactics throughout the course of the Theo section. And now we see Steven just finishing up Chapter 4, as Silver is honestly not too far ahead of him. Ooh, and what Cookie now is doing in Chapter 6, which I yet again forgot to explain, is So we just did Lake Skip, which is one of the bigger skips in the game. Although this game is not skip heavy, it does save maybe 5 to 10 seconds, I guess, which it's kind of it's made possible by a recent patch made from the developers, where basically the frame for wall balancing is a lot more lenient than it was before. So now the lake skip trick is a 3 pixel trick, excuse me, rather than a 1 pixel trick. And it basically kind of, if you'll remember, it's kind of reminiscent of the spike jumps we saw in Chapter 3 and Chapter 4, except you wall bounce on it, except instead of just jumping off of it. And some mechanics we have in Chapter 4 are these bumpers, which that's what they do. They're bumpers. They just bump you. And if you hold the opposite direction you hit the bumpers on, they can kind of double the distance you got from them, which can be useful in some rooms, although they're not really used much throughout the chapter. Another one we have is the feather, which allows for some fast flowing movement, and it's omnidirectional. So basically, it's really useful to have the analog stick for the feather. It's one of the places where kind of maybe personal preference kind of isn't to be accounted for, rather than just being faster, because you can save a lot of time using analog stick with the feathers. And another thing we see on Cookie's screen is these well, not his screen at the moment, but in Chapter 6 are these what we call Kevin blocks, made by Kevin from Power Up Audio, who actually recorded the sound these Kevin blocks make. And although we don't have audio from Cookie right now, we'll hear it from our other runners, where it's a fairly amusing noise. I'll be honest, it got me when I first heard it. I didn't expect to hear that. So also shout outs to Kevin. And yeah, so basically what they are is they're I kind of refer to them as a combination between the zipper blocks in Chapter 1 and the dash blocks in Chapter 5, because they're basically blocks that their movement is initiated from dashing, but dashing into them. So you require contact and a dash to make them move. So that's kind of how I explain them. And now we see Cookie in the battle and fight, which is basically you fight your evil doppelganger again, except this time instead of mimicking your movement, she just sits behind and fires a bunch of lasers at you, which can make for a lot of fun playing this casually, and a lot of fun speedrunning this as well, because totally not a thing that kills runs, but I digress. As we see, Steven now is heading into a search. Yet again, a thing I forgot. Looks like I'm forgetting everything this run, but one thing he's about to do is search skip, which is the biggest skip in the game, which saves 1 or 2 minutes, give or take. Kind of just depends on how you play, but basically it requires a reverse dash cancel, and then like a diagonal dash to get over that tentacle gap, which obviously is essential for a Celeste speedrun, considering how much time it saves. And now we see Zic. He's nearly done the Theo section, and looks like he got stuck a little bit there, getting into a bit of a tough situation with Theo in that dash block, but is able to clean it up. Just a few seconds lost. as we see him in the final room of the Theo section now. And now we see Cookie and the second phase of the battle and fight. Another thing I missed, but basically now Battlein can move blocks. I mean, not anymore because that's not found in this final room, but he's nearly done with chapter 6. As he takes a really rough death there. That's really unfortunate. This is obviously one of the bigger rooms in the entire game, so a death here can be very costly. And now we see basically Cookie has leveled up, and now he has 2 dashes since Madeline and Battlein stopped being enemies. Now they're friends, and now they're gonna finish climbing this mountain, as we'll see near the end here. And we see Zic now. He is in chapter 6. Silver following not too far behind, as Steven seems to be kinda has an increasing gap between him and Silver, but again, it's not too big of a gap, so if he plays well the rest of his run, he could definitely end up winning this race. Ooh, Cookie kinda getting himself into trouble there. He wasn't able to get a clean enough extended hyper to cross that kind of bottom gap to skip a little bit of that room, but he's still going. Not too much of a time loss. Yeah, so we're hearing it from Silver's kind of stream here. You can hear the Kevin Block noise, the so certainly a funny one. Certainly one that I find amusing. So and now we see Cookie going into the 500-meter section of Summit. Basically, in Summit, there's no new mechanics introduced until the final little bit. Well, it's not really new, it's just remixed. But basically, the entire level, you basically just kind of go through different kind of layouts of all our previous chapters. Like, the beginning part was kind of a remixed little bit of chapter 6. Now in 500 meters, this is a remixed bit of chapter 1. As we can see, there's all the zipper blocks, all the spikes, the whole same aesthetic. And now he's completed 500 meters. He's heading into 1,000 meters, which is the remix bit of chapter 2. As we can see, there are all the dream blocks and stuff. As we can see, all our other runners are kind of just trudging along at their own pace. We can see Silver is kind of building his lead up a lot more over Steven. And Zic kind of is a fair bit ahead of Silver as well. Now Cookie has finished the 1,000 meter bit of Summit and is going into the 1,500 meter bit, which is probably the most kind of... It's kind of a mixed bag reception-wise. I mean, not many people like it. It's a remix of Chapter 3, which not many people like. And there are a few strats which are fairly difficult, like one we'll see here. If Cookie does go for it, requires a lot of ultra dashes. Yes, he goes for 2 ultras and 3 ultras in that room. I forgot to explain what an ultra is. Basically, an ultra dash is basically an extended hyper into either a wave dash or a downwards diagonal dash, which gives you the most amount of speed out of any dash movement in the entire game. Unless you count like some other mechanics, I guess. Unless you count like the momentum you get from moving blocks, but that's the yeah, that's the fastest basic, I guess. I guess you can call it a basic form because it doesn't require any extra mechanics to pull it off, but it's kind of the fastest movement of the game without exploiting any other things the developers put in the game, like the Kevin blocks or the dash blocks or all of that stuff. And now we can see Cookie's in he's in the chapter 4 remix bit. What we'll see here, talking about using blocks to get extra momentum, he just did the auto scroller skip there, which saves a bit of time, which is yet another skip which allows you to use the momentum from these moving blocks to gain immense speed, and he's able to cross that entire gap with it instead of kind of wasting a bit of time and having to go through it the casual way. And now we see Zic. He just entered the battle and fight, and we see Silver. Although his timer's not synced up well, RTA, they're very close together. And now we see Cookie in the last remix bit of Summit. This is 2,500 meters, the most skip and strat heavy kind of section of Summit, where nearly every single room has like kind of uses some form of like a task strat, I guess, or like something like that. As we can see, he's using kind of wave dashes to get across all that stuff. And we see him getting a key skip, which basically requires 2 quick neutral dashes, and just to be able to skip the entire 20 or so seconds, I guess, to get that that key the normal way. What we'll see from him in the next room is skip. I don't think we have the name of it, but basically you just go through, you dash, you extended hyper dash, and go through that little gap between those 2 blocks. And we see him completing the most controversial skip in the game, door skip, which from what I've heard saves 9 years, which is... So it looks like he'll be able to, ooh, but a bit of a rough death there. At least he got the, the 9-year save. It's not 9 years, it's only 1 second, but it's kind of become a meme in the Celeste speedrunning community, since it used to be one of the hardest skips. It used to be, that's why its controversy is really there. It used to be like one of the hardest skips to do, and now it's like somewhat free. And now we see Cookie in the final bit of Summit, the 3,000 meter bit, which now he is there, and basically it's not a remixed kind of level, but it has a remixed mechanic. As we'll see, it has wind, kind of like we saw in chapter 4, except this time the wind is pushing you vertically instead of horizontally. We can see he's in the downdraft section, where his vertical movement is limited. But here he is on flag 20. He's on the last bit of the downdraft section, and next we'll see him going into the updraft section, where obviously his vertical movement is amplified. As we can see, Zic now heading into the final room of the battle and fight. And we see Silver following suit, not too far behind. Ooh, but Silver taking a bit of a rough death there. And it looks like Silver is able to clean up that last room eventually. Although he did take a bit of a rough death there, but he's still got a sizable lead over his competitor here. As Cookie now is getting very close to the end of Chapter 7. It looks like he's on good pace. I'm not sure what his PB is. Let me research this, excuse me. Yes, his PB is a 36. I'm not sure if he has something unsubmitted, but this could be a massive PB for him on SRC. He's on flag 3. I'm maybe 30 seconds left in the run if he does this deathless. And now he's on flag 1. It looks like he'll be able to pull off a sub 34, which is, I mean, I don't know if he has a run that's not submitted on SRC. A 33.43. A full 3 minutes ahead. Nearly 3 minutes ahead of what he has there. That is crazy. Oh my goodness. That's insane. So, alright, so apparently from Twitch chat he has a low 34, but, that's a 34.05 he says, but that's still a PB by about 15-ish seconds. So GG to Cookie, as our other runners now are working their way to the finish, as we see both Zic and Silver are both in the 500-meter bit. And we see Steven now, he's finally done with the battle and fight, almost at the end of chapter 6. Alright, so we have a Cookie here in the voice chat. GG, that's like a 20-second PB, which is pretty nice, I guess. I mean,
yeah, my early game was crazy in this run. So basically, starting off, I like didn't practice either chapter 1 or chapter 2 today, and I still ended up like having my best pace ever out of chapter 2 by like 2 seconds.
oh geez.
And then I ILPB'd Resort, which was really big. Like, I got my first sub-9 Resort overall time ever, and my best for that was like a 9:15.
Oh geez, so you were well ahead right at the get-go.
Yeah, but the problem with that was the nerves kind of set in pretty hard, and like I still played well for the most part, but like the mistakes I made like in Mirror Temple and Ridge were just like kind of dumb things that shouldn't happen. Like in Mirror Temple, I lost 20 seconds in the first like minute of normal gameplay, but then over the rest, I beat my ILPD by like 7 or 8 seconds in like the second half.
Yeah, so it's good to know that you still have some time improvements to make. So,
and I also would have ILPB'd what is it? Reflection if I didn't die in the last room.
Yeah, I saw that.
I'm pretty sure I could have just climbed that. I just like looked away from the game because I thought I made it. That's just a dumb mistake. But I mean, it happens.
I mean,
this was still like a really good run.
Yeah, I believe a 33:43 puts you. Oh, you're like. I don't know what your like millisecond time was, but like without the millisecond time, you're tied with Hornlets. So that's nice.
He actually, I think he has like a 33:05 or something now.
Yeah, I saw that earlier. So I mean, at least what he has on SRC, but you should be heading into 16th place there, which pretty nice. You have a sizable lead over the now 17th place runner. So congratulations. A pretty big improvement for you, as I can tell. Seems like you're pretty happy with it. And so yeah, it looks like our other runners, Zic, is getting a bit closer to completing. A bit of a rough death there at the end of 1500. As it looks like Silver's taking over him RTA wise, but there's that. So I mean, if you have anything else to say about your run, then you can go ahead and say it, Cookie. But otherwise, GG on with that. It was pretty fun to watch.
Honestly, I feel like the problem for me with this game is it's not even that like I die a lot, but like all of the deaths I have are super avoidable, and I'm just dumb. I just like make dumb decisions in a lot of like risky places, and like lose a lot of time because of that.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the times when I run, like when I get to some of the longer rooms, I'll just like get really tense and just end up choking because like I get nervous and don't want to die there, and then I just do, which obviously is a bit of an issue, but I mean, it is what it is.
Thing is, like every time for me, I lose like 10 seconds before lake skip and reflection, and like it's not very hard, but I just like have something in my head that forces me to be bad at the game.
Like 10 seconds at the beginning of reflection, like with the cutscene skip and all?
Or like a combination of like that first only feather room and lake skip.
Oh jeez.
Always 10 seconds. But for the most part, I like played the rest of that level well. Everything else was like super good. Like also there's a thing in like for Summit. For me, I was on my best pace ever after 1500 meters, and I lost like 30 seconds in 2000 and 2500. But it happens. You just gotta practice more, and I'll eventually like be able to get some crazy times.
Yeah, crazy times for sure, because it sounds like you have a bit of time save to make. So, I mean, hopefully you can get some new PBs soon. I mean,
yeah, I'm kind of surprised how well I've been like actually playing in this tournament. I kind of was expecting to like have some like average runs, but I've actually had like 2 out of my 3 runs have been PBs, and the other run that wasn't a PB was like a second off.
Oh geez, yeah, because for me it seemed like everybody's been PBing. Like I
thought I was gonna be like an exception to the magical tourney PB rule. And nope, I'm going with it.
Yeah, I believe one of the runs I commentated last week, like both of the runners PB'd by like 2 minutes or more, which was absolutely insane.
Yeah, this tourney is just crazy so far.
Yeah, it's crazy seeing how much people now have like an incentive to run this game, and it's like kind of seeing like. I mean, obviously we passed Super Mario 64 on the speedrun.com active runners list, which is nothing short of insane. And then just like so many people are just really grinding at this game, and the leaderboards are absolutely insane now. Like it used to be like Tej, YP, and then Oddbod at the top, and now it's like Revo is up there now. I think Babai has an unsubmitted PB that's in second place, and it's like everybody now has an incentive to run this game, and it's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it's super crazy because, like, in my experience in the past with like tournaments of other games, for the most part, there've been like most of the top runners, but like not like 90% of them. But in this tournament, I'm pretty sure at least like I'm pretty sure everyone, yeah, like everyone in like the top 25 is in the tournament, and it's crazy. There's just like that many people who are still committed to getting better and improving and playing this game a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly good to watch. I mean, hopefully we can maybe see, I mean, the top 25 now. I mean, I've been seeing the leaderboards have been changing like crazy. Like, I think the like the gate for the top 100 in the past month or so has changed from like 44 minutes to like 41 minutes, which is crazy. It's really competitive, and it's fun to see it, because I mean, I haven't really seen anything kind of as competitive as this at the moment, so it's certainly interesting. I mean, I don't think we've seen too many upsets yet, but I mean, maybe come the knockout stage, it'll get really intense. I'm really hyped to see that when it comes.
And actually, the interesting thing is, I'm actually the second seed in my group, but now I have a better time than the first seed in my group. So that's going to be a really interesting race.
Wait, who is the first seed in your group?
Gix01. He has a 34-32.
Oh, alright. So, I mean, I believe you now, though. Now your PB is ahead of his now, so there's that. I mean, I don't know if he has an unsubmitted one or something, because it seems like everybody does nowadays. But I mean, the run you just got is ahead of this one he has on SRC, so I mean, if you two, I mean, have you two like raced yet, or are we still waiting?
No, I've been putting off racing him so I can like get better at the game and like beat his time, which I did. But it's still really scary because there's less than a minute there.
Well, I'd certainly want to turn into that, because it certainly sounds like a close one. I mean, if both of you race really well, that could really be two high-level runners with like a few seconds in difference. That's kind of a bit crazy. So I guess that's pretty smart, though, just to kind of put his race on the back burner so you can creep up on him time-wise. So
yeah, I'm kind of surprised how quickly I did it, though. I expected it was going to take a lot more.
Yeah, for sure. Alright, and back to our runners, it looks like Silver and Zic, although their timers are not synced, as I mean, they still aren't, but RTA wise there's maybe a second between them, so this is certainly fun to watch. So I mean, ooh, but Silver taking a rough death there, and Steven now entering the 3,000 meter bit. But yeah, I guess these races will be kind of finishing up soon. Zic having a little bit of trouble going from the 8th flag until to the rest of that room, but he's able to clean it up after a few tries. And let me try and find something. I believe there might be some other races you guys can watch later today. Yeah, there is one in a few minutes, which you guys can watch. It's Star Cruncher versus Zion on Speed Gaming 6. So after this race is done, if you guys want to watch more Celeste, then definitely go check out that. And Zic now is just about to finish. Yeah, I mean, I guess if you don't have much else, then I don't really know. GG with the PB for sure. I'll certainly be looking forward to how you do in the knockout stage, Cookie. So maybe if you get any more PBs, because it looks like, I mean, you certainly have some time saved to make here, and it looks like Zic finishes his run out with oh, he has IL timer on, big rip there, and Silver now in the last little flag one, and he's able to clean it up, and he's done just after.
Actually, I think that's a PB for Zic. Because if I'm not like mistaken, his PB on speedrun.com is like a 48:15.
I actually haven't looked at this. Yeah, his.
Oh wait, I have the leaderboards up. I'm stupid.
Yeah, he has a 48:14, so that's a fairly decent sized PB for him.
And then Sylverfyst also PBing by like a minute.
Yeah. So, 46:57, 47:44. Yeah, so each of them PB by about a minute, which is pretty nice. I mean, if we look at Steven's time, if his time is a 56:54, I think we're gonna get like all 4 runners to PB in this race. What?
It's looking like Steven's gonna hit like a 6-minute PB.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, okay. So he has an offline 51:12, but this is still looking like really good pace to beat that.
I don't know if this has happened before, but
it probably has with how this tournament's been going.
Yeah, but all 4 runners PBing in the same race, though, that's absolutely insane. I mean, this is still looking, I mean, I don't want to jinx it. Ooh, a bit of a rough mistake there from Steven, but I mean, this is still, he's still gonna PB by like maybe a minute and 30 seconds. It's like, just what? This is crazy. Alright, so I think we'll be able to get Silver and Zic in for an interview. So,
hello.
Alright, hello both of you. So, yeah, so it looks like Steven finished. All 4 racers PB'd in this race.
Nice.
That is
GG, guys.
GG's all around. So, that's crazy, I guess. I don't know if that's happened, but holy crap, everybody. So both of you, Zic and Silver, PBing by about a minute for each of you. I think maybe Zic by about a minute and 15.
It was a minute 17, yes.
Yeah,
all right.
It was about a minute exactly.
So how do you guys feel your runs went? Because
really smooth, man. I had some nerves early on in City that caused a couple unnecessary deaths, but other than that, really smooth.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as Silver. Early on, I was playing really badly. I think it was just I was warming up, and the few deaths I took at the beginning were really getting to me, but I was spending a lot of time practicing Chapter 4 today, and I really nailed that out. I think after that, I just held on. I wasn't really gaining after that, but I just held on after my Chapter 4.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess IGT-wise, you guys were like a bit there was a bit of gap between both of you, but there was a bit of a like unsync between both of your streams on the whole speed gaming thing, where it looked like both of you finished the entire run with like 10 seconds between each other.
Oh wow.
So, yeah, so it looked like RTA wise, you guys were like neck and neck for like the entire race, which is pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, I gotta go back and watch the restream later on.
Yeah, that was certainly good. I don't know if we can get Steven in here as well, but again, congratulations to everybody with your PBs. It sounds like everybody has been getting them at this point, and
Yeah, I feel like the whole race scenario, like the tournament, kind of forces you to get better. So I mean, when you're playing with people who are as good as the people who are in the tournament, it just pushes everybody.
yeah, I mean it's really competitive now. I mean, the entire thing, like all sections of the leaderboard are just going absolutely insane. Like if we look, like speedrun.com for Celeste is like, we're inching up on like 500 different any percent runners total, which is absolutely insane. We've gained so many people recently.
I'm sure the 12-hour challenge will push everybody even further up it.
Yeah, for sure. And like all kind of spectrums of the board are covered as well. The very top is getting really, really kind of competitive with like even the top 3 positions they've been changing a lot recently. And
Yeah,
it says we have,
nuts.
yeah, like 186 active runners, and it seems like people are PBing every day now, and it's like my old PB that I haven't updated yet has moved. It's moved on like 10 positions in the last week, which just kind of.
Oh yeah, I do remember in between my last race and when I got my current PB, I dropped 25 spots on the leaderboard without doing anything.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like everybody's got an incentive to run nowadays. It's really, really fun to watch. Oh, all right. It looks like Steven is asking for a link. I'll kind of throw him one.
Okay, cool.
Just so we can get him in for an interview. All right, there we go. All right, hello, Steven. I believe this is the second time I'm interviewing you after a PB, so.
I've had 3. You were the commentator last time?
I think, I mean, I haven't been here for a week, but if I can check, I believe, it was the race you had on the 14th, which.
Oh, okay, cool.
I forget who it was against, but I remember you PB'd but like maybe 2 or something minutes there. So
I haven't played a single. I played about half an hour before I started this race, and I haven't played since that race. So I'm kind of shocked that I PB'd again.
I mean, it seems like you're improving at a crazy rate now. It's like you're PBing every single race now. So.
It has to end at some point. It would be nice to PB and win. I've PB'd and lost every single race. But
I mean,
I got lucky with. I remember telling you before the race that I had gotten that PB on a lucky, really clean run and hadn't been able to get it again in like a week, and then I got lucky again.
That's nice, man. Congratulations.
Yeah, you too, man. That was a really good run.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah, so like, is there any kind of chapters you felt were kind of big in your PB this time, Steven?
I think I got a gold 5.
Alright, so that was
Yeah, I
pretty...
got a gold 5. I lost some time on my battling fight. That was probably my worst part compared to what it usually is. But I guess it was just all a little bit better than the last time.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like you're still improving, so like, it seems like you may be able to get a sub 45 somewhat soon, which is certainly a big milestone. I mean, this year was a sub 50 for you, so that's one in itself. So congratulations with that.
Oh, thanks.
So yeah, I guess if we don't really have anything else really to say, I mean, if anyone wants to chime in, you can.
No, I'm excited to go check out the next race that's starting up here in a few minutes. So I'm getting ready to go pop over there and watch.
Yeah, so if I think I might have already mentioned this, but if I haven't, head to Speed Gaming 6, where we have a two-way between Star Cruncher and Zion 97. I don't think I'm familiar with either of the two runners, but I mean,
Cruncher's a really cool German runner who's got a low 36 at this point.
ooh, all
really
right,
cool guy too.
yeah, 36:53, so that's a pretty nice time. I don't know about Zion. I'll look him up.
Yeah, I haven't heard much about him.
Yeah, he's got a 51, so it doesn't look like it'll be the most competitive of races, but I mean, we can always see how these runners do against their own personal times. I mean, everybody's PBing now, so who knows? We might even see more.
Exactly.
So, yeah, so go head over to Speed Gaming 6. I mean, I guess we might be done for today here. I don't know if there's anything else waiting to be on Speed Gaming 5, but I guess we'll just kind of transition over to that. So go check out that stream. It'll probably be a good race to watch. I certainly hope it is. And I guess that's all we kind of have today. So thank you all for tuning in. Thank you Speed Gaming for hosting this tournament, and thank you all runners for the crazy show you guys put on. 4 PBs and 1 race is certainly a cool achievement.
Thanks
Thanks
for
for the
having me.
commentary.
Yeah, no problem. So again, go transition over to that. I'll be transitioning over there as well. So I guess that's all we have for today. So yeah, again, thank you all for watching, and I guess we're out for now.